Hey there guys, welcome back to the Sports Stuff episode. Today, we're talking about free agency and my winners and my losers of free agency of so far. Now we're about a week into free agency, tampering and free agency obviously, all deals are final, so I feel like we have a pretty good grasp overall of what we are going to see before the draft. There's still a couple big pieces that can move. Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to get traded to the New York Jets eventually. This is, trying to find trade compensation. Lamar Jackson will either get traded or to get a big extension with the Ravens. Other guys out there, little pieces like a tight end that can start for a year. Odell is going to start for someone this season, but is he going to be the big piece that stops a big trade and a big draft pick? No. But as I'm saying that means all the big deals are gone. And I want to talk about who I think won and who I think lost. So first, in the winners column, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the Falcons, they went into free agency, had a lot of money and a lot of capital in the draft upcoming, and they spent it very well. They signed Chris Lindstrom, their premier offensive guard, one of the best run blockers in the league, to a 5-year, $105 million deal with $63 guaranteed. So basically a 3-year extension, fully guaranteed, plus the last 2 are non-guaranteed. But 5-year, 105, lock up one of your most premier guys on your offensive line. That's important. That's an A+ in my opinion. And speaking of the offensive line, you get Caleb McGarry back, 3 years, 34.5, only about 11 mil a year. Insane value. I think there's a lot of teams like the Chicago Bears that should have went after Caleb McGarry. I think there's a lot of teams out there that really kind of regret not getting him. 3 years for 11 is insane for the Falcons. That's great value. He's a very solid starter. Yes, he's not the best guy, but for 11 mil a year, absolutely. Especially when his market value was $15 to $17 million a year per spot rack. Next up, we have Jesse Bates with the Atlanta Falcons. Great signing. And yes, it is a little rich. 4 years, $64 million. They haven't released how much is guaranteed yet. But he had 71 tackles, 4 interceptions, a forced fumble, and 8 pass defended. Wow, 8 pass deflections in 2022. And for the last 4 or 5 years, he's been one of the best safeties in the league. Now, as a Browns fan, I was kind of hoping that Jesse Bates might end up in Cleveland, but for that amount of money, 4 years, 64, about 16.5 a year, I'm good. I'm happy with what we got. But David Onyemata is also a great signing by them. 3 years, 35, 24.5 guaranteed, 43 tackles, 5 sacks, and a fumble recovery. That's a great signing. Him next to Grady Jarrett, that's going to be a very good run defense interior, and I think they have a very high chance of winning that division. And, in my opinion, one of the most underrated, slept signings, Taylor Heineke at quarterback. In 2022, had 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 9 starts. 2 years, up to $20 million. The Commanders lose Taylor Heineke, and I think that the Falcons, they get a high upside backup behind Desmond Ridder. I don't think they're going quarterback this draft. I think they're going to give Ridder a year. And I think if he sucks, you got Taylor Heineke behind him, who has proven to be a solid enough starter in the NFL to win you games, but also not win you too many games, because there's still a team that's rebuilding. They don't want to win 11 games and, completely throw off their timetable. But I think he's good enough to win those games, keep your fans intrigued, but he's not good enough to make you win a Super Bowl. So I give the Atlanta Falcons overall a B+. Next up, we got the Carolina Panthers, our big-time winners in the NFL free agency. They got Bradley Bozeman, who started 11 games for them last year, 3 years, $18 million. Again, I love value signing. $6 million a year for a guy who is a starter-level center is great, especially because he's young, can still develop a little bit more. Shy Tuttle, one of the better interior defensive linemen in this free agency, very good depth guy. 49 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 years, 19.5 with $13 million guaranteed. This Saints team lost so many defensive linemen this offseason because they're so good at churning them out that I'm not surprised that yet another D tackle of theirs has gone on to be with another team. Next, we have Hayden Hurst, 52 receptions for 414 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's a 3-year deal. Again, they have not put any numbers out yet, but it is signed. Hopefully they do announce the numbers soon, because I think that's a very good trade for them. Not trade. It's a very good signing. He was very solid for the Bengals last year. He showed in Atlanta that he was good enough to be, your premier number 1 tight end. I think that to Carolina makes a lot of sense. Von Bell, 77 tackles, 4 interceptions, and a fumble recovery. 3 years, 22.5 with $13 million guaranteed. This secondary for the Panthers are young and hungry. And that's two very important things that you want in your secondary. You want a young and a hungry guy. And I think that Von Bell, believe he's only 27 years old, fits, a little bit of the timetable. Yes, he's a little older, but I mean, he's going to come in and start for them immediately. And you can't get too mad at starter level quality players in free agency. Andy Dalton, yet again, he had a very solid season last year. 2,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, had a 95 overall passer rating. 2 years, $10 million with $8 million guaranteed. That's a very good signing. That means he's definitely there for 1 year, but I think he might play the full 2 years. The second year as a backup, considering that they're probably gonna, draft a quarterback number 1 overall. Miles Sanders, another great deal in my opinion. 1,200 yards, 4.9 yards per carry, 11 rushing touchdowns in 2022. It's a 4 years for $26 million. I really thought that the Carolina Panthers would go for more of a thumper. I think Miles Sanders is good. I don't think he's bad. I think he's good. But I really thought they would, in the same echelon of Jonathan Taylor, the thumper, the Derrick Henry. I thought this was a great Derrick Henry trade spot. But, getting Miles Sanders 4 years for $26 million, great value. I believe it's only, 6.24. It's only $7 million a year, about 6.5. Really good value for a starting level running back. And very high upside as well. And what most recently happened today, Adam Thielen, 70 receptions, 700 yards, 6 touchdowns in 2022. Yes, he's definitely not the Adam Thielen of old, but he's still good enough, in my opinion, to provide value. Again, it's a 3-year deal. I don't think the numbers have been released yet. But overall, and plus the trade that the Panthers did with the Bears to get the number 1 overall draft pick, 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a future second-round pick. No, I'm sorry. It was 2 first, a second this year, and a 25 second, 4 number 1 overall. I love it. I love it for the Panthers. Get your franchise quarterback a number 1 overall. Whether it's C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, I don't care. Both of them are going to be good. So, Panthers, I give them an A everything. A offseason. I'm not going to go A plus yet, because I want to see if they make a couple more, under the radar moves. Maybe another tight ends. I like Hayden Hurst, but I mean, you got Tommy Tremble, you got Ian Thomas. Get like a blocking tight end, like a really good blocking tight end. I wouldn't mind another offensive lineman as well. Maybe a guard, because Brady Christensen at right guard is not the best, but he's a solid option. I think just little itty bitty moves here and there that you can get after the draft, and these veterans that haven't signed with the team yet, you can get a couple good guys. But yeah, A is what I give them. The Chicago Bears, man, they were busy this offseason. They got TJ Edwards at linebacker, 159 tackles, 2 sacks, and a fumble recovery in 2022. 3 years, $19.5 million. Great value. Great value. A little about, $6.5 million a year. That is great value for the Bears. TJ Edwards is a starting level linebacker, and they need linebackers, They got Tremaine Edmonds as well. 102 tackles, an interception, and a sack. 4 years, $72 million, $50 million guaranteed. A little rich for my liking. For a weak side linebacker in Tremaine Edmonds, I think that's the richest contract for a weak side linebacker in NFL history. A little rich for me, but I understand what they're doing. You got Jack Sanborn in the middle as your Mike linebacker. TJ Edwards will be your Sam linebacker. Tremaine Edmonds, your weak side linebacker. That's a very good 4-3 that you're building there. Nate Davis had 3 sacks allowed last year, but he's, in my opinion, still one of the better guards in the league. 3 years, $30 million, 19.5 guaranteed. Really good signing. If they start him at guard, I'm intrigued to see if they move Tevin Jenkins out the right tackle. Me personally, I would put Nate Davis at left guard, Cody Whitehair at center, and keep Tevin Jenkins at right guard. And in the first round of the draft, if you can trade back, in all my mock drafts, I have the Bears trading back from pick 9. If they can do that, I wouldn't mind a DeJuan Jones in the first round for the Bears. I mean, that would finish their really good offensive line that they've been building. Braxton Jones, you then have Nate Davis, Cody Whitehair, Tevin Jenkins, and then DeJuan Jones. Get the Jones pairings at tackle. I think that'd be really good. But Nate Davis, really good signing. And then Robert Tonyan actually just came through, I believe, yesterday. 1 year, but he had 53 receptions for 470 yards and 2 touchdowns last year. Really good receiving option for the 12 personnel. You got Cole Kmet. You got Robert Tonyan. That's a really good 1-2 at tight end. And then plus a trade back with the Panthers where you get 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and a future second-round pick. I give the Chicago Bears an A+ offseason so far. Then, in my opinion, one of the most underrated off seasons is the Cleveland Browns. We got Ogbonio Okoronkwo, the defensive end from the Texans, who last year had 44 tackles, 5 sacks, and a forced fumble. About after week 10, he really, it really hit for him that he was in the NFL, and he started, rolling on and becoming a really good pass rusher. 3 years, $22 million, 12.5 guaranteed. What a great signing. Now, I don't know if he's going to start. I would start him, but I don't know if they're going to make him start. Maybe he's going to be in rotation. But I think if you're going to pay a guy 3 years, 22, he's got to start. And I think him next to Myles Garrett is very exciting. Juan Thornhill, one of my favorite signings of any team in the entirety of the NFL free agency period. I think Juan Thornhill is one of the best scheme fits and paydays. 3 years, 21 mil with 10 mil guaranteed. He had 71 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 9 pass defended in 2022. And since 2019, when he came into the league, he's a top 6 safety. You got a top 6 safety since he came into the league for 7 mil a year. And only 10 of it is guaranteed. That is a great value signing for the team. He gets 10 mil guaranteed, and I think he had a really nice signing bonus. And it's a great scheme fit. And finally, Dalvin Tomlinson, the D tackle, 288 tackles in his career, 2 forced fumbles. He got 4 years, $57 million with 27.5 guaranteed. Again, Dalvin Tomlinson is not a pass rusher. If he gets 4 sacks this year, I will be happy. What I care about is his tackles and his run stuffing ability, which in Minnesota he showed that the Dalvin Tomlinson of old is still there. And his entire stint in Minnesota, in my opinion, was really good. I give the Browns a B+ offseason so far. And there's rumors that McCole Hardman might come to the Browns. If we can get McCole Hardman as well, it goes right up to an A. But right now, it's at a B+. I think there's a few more things that the Browns could do, and I think there's a few more holes that they have. I'm going to give them a B+ for right now. The Detroit Lions are really interesting. I think they'd be my second team that gets an A+ overall offseason. That means so far the only 2 teams to get an A+ come from the NFC North. The Lions got Cam Sutton on a 3-year deal. He had 43 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 15 passes defended in 2022 with the Steelers. 3 years, 33 mil with 22.5 guaranteed. He becomes their starting outside corner. And I really like that. You still got Amani Oruwariye. He actually is Amani Oruwariye a free agent. Amani Oruwariye. He is. No, he's back on the Lions. So you still got Amani, who I think is a really good standout outside corner. You got Cam Sutton, and you also signed Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. 1 year, 8 mil. I mean, he led the league in interceptions last year. You had Cam Sutton get 3 interceptions last year. This secondary has turned from fine to really good. They lost to Sean Elliott, replaced him with a better safety in C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You got Kirby Joseph and Tracy Walker still there. At corner, you got Emmanuel Mosley, Cam Sutton, Amani Oruwariye, Jeff Okudah. At linebacker, you re-signed Alex Anzalone, who had 125 tackles, a sack and a half, and a forced fumble. He gets a 3-year deal. And you get David Montgomery. Now, this is the only thing that I would give him a ding on is David Montgomery. Him and DeAndre Swift play a very similar role. And you have them both right now on your team. Now, David Montgomery signed long-term. DeAndre Swift isn't. But Montgomery had 800 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, 300 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. 3 years for 18. I would have just given that to Jamal Williams. I mean, you knew what he had. You know what I mean? You knew that Jamal Williams was a really good running back for you, a goal line merchant, and you let him go. That's my only notch on their offseason so far. But besides that, it's been an A+ for everything. Another team I think had a really good offseason so far is the Miami Dolphins. They trade a 3rd-round pick and a tight end who's not played for them, basically, for Jalen Ramsey. They also got David Long Jr. on a 2-year cheap deal. You got Mike White to back up Tua Tagovailoa. And you got Braxton Berrios, who's a really solid returner. That is a very, very good offseason they've had. I'd give them another B+. That Jalen Ramsey trade was insane. The Dolphins get another B+ from me. The 49ers also win, in my opinion. I mean, they got Javon Hargrove, who was honestly, in my opinion, the best D tackle in the market. I mean, he had 60 tackles, 11 sacks, and a forced fumble last year. 4 years, $80 million. They just stacked their defensive line to get even better. They also got Sam Darnold, but I think it's just, maybe you take a flyer on him. But I mean, Javon Hargrove is the best D tackle in the market. You add him to one of honestly, the best defensive line of the last 5 to 10 years. That is really good. And I think that gives him alone a B+ overall grade on just 2 signings. Another team I think had a really good offseason is the Seattle Seahawks. On the Seahawks to get Geno Smith 3 years, the max is out at 105, but it's 3 years, $75 million. After his great season where they had with you, that's really good. You get Draymond Jones, a defensive tackle, 13 starts. He had 47 tackles, 6.5 sacks, and a forced fumble. 3 years, 51. You get Jerron Reed as well, 52 tackles, 2.5 sacks, a forced fumble. 2 years for $10 million. You get Drew Lock back to be your backup. You get Julian Love, who had 124 tackles and 2 interceptions last year with the Giants. 2 years, $12 million. And you get a high upside Devin Bush linebacker, 81 tackles. You know, like, this is a team that took a lot of shots, and I think it's going to pay off for them. Because, I mean, we saw them with one of the worst rushing defensive last year go to the playoffs. Now they add 2 very solid defensive linemen who can help with the pass rush. With a run stuffing. And you got Julian Love, who in my opinion is a really good run stopping safety. And Devin Bush, who has a high upside. His rookie year was really solid. Then he's kind of fallen off since. I like what the Seattle Seahawks did. I'm going to give him an A-. Oh, Tampa Bay. I actually love what the Buccaneers did. They got Jamel Dean, Levante David back on really cheap deals. But they get Baker Mayfield. So when Baker got cut or traded from the Browns, when he got traded, I thought the Bucs were gonna make a play for him. I really thought they would make a play for him. He had 2,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in 2022. Most of the interceptions honestly came when he was on the Panthers. But when he got cut for the Panthers, I thought they were gonna make a run for him. The Rams got him. He had a really solid year with them. Not too bad. But Baker on the Bucs, dude. I love that scheme fit. I'm not a Baker bro, but like Baker, that's the best spot you could have gone. You have really good weapons, a solid offensive line, a defense who's competent, and a head coach that has experience. Well, if Baker can't make this work, dude, he needs to be in the XFL. So I really like what they did. Plus, I get Greg Gaines, who had 36 tackles and 4 sacks, only on a 1-year deal. I would have thought he got a lot bigger deal, but I mean, hey, man, I'm genuinely like. I'm happy that Baker's getting his chance. Hopefully it works out, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. Now, off seasons I did not like. I did not like the Jets off season so far. Yes, they're trying to get Aaron Rodgers, so you can't make that many moves. But you re-sign Quincy Williams, awesome. I'm all for it. But you sign Allen Lazard to a 4-year, $44 million deal with $22 million guaranteed? Come on, man. Like, we know that Allen Lazard is a fine wide receiver, but 4 for 44 with half of it guaranteed? Juju Smith-Schuster and Jacoby Myers went for that. 3 for 33, both of them, with $22 million guaranteed. I would have much rather have Jacoby Myers or Juju than Allen Lazard. Now, I understand Nathaniel Hackett is the offensive coordinator, and you're trying to get Aaron Rodgers, but man, like, they've had a quiet offseason because they're trying to wait for this ball to drop, and it just hasn't dropped yet. You're going to have to give up a first-round pick to get him. I don't know. I think they've had like a C- offseason so far, and I'm fine with people disagreeing with that. A team that I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying, guys, all right? The New Orleans Saints have had a really bad offseason. I don't like when teams settle for being bad, and the Saints settle for being mid. They signed Derek Carr to a 4-year, $150 million contract. Fine. Why? I get it, Dennis Allen was his head coach in Las Vegas, or I guess Oakland, when he first started, and he started Derek Carr his rookie year. But you re-signed Jameis Winston to a 1-year deal worth up to $8 million. Fine, whatever. You signed Juwan Johnson. I'm cool with that. But then you signed Jamal Williams and Kalen Saunders. It's like they're trying to compete for a Super Bowl, but they're not going to even get close to one. I truly believe that if you don't have a clear path to the playoffs and clear path to the Super Bowl, you shouldn't really try. Like, you're in a league right now where it's Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. Like, there's so many good quarterbacks, and good teams around those quarterbacks, the Saints are too far away. So the fact that they keep settling and keep like, okay, let's try it again. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, let's try it again. It's getting tiring. I'm gonna give them a C minus. I wish they would just accept the rebuild and move on, but I don't think it's gonna happen, and it's kind of upsetting. I'm not gonna lie to you. The Indianapolis Colts have also had a really disappointing offseason. I mean, you get Samson Ebukam for 3 years, 27, $9 million a year. He had 36 tackles, 5 sacks. Is Yannick Ngakoue really asking for that much money? Because I would rather have Yannick Ngakoue than Samson Ebukam. You also signed Gardner Minshew. I am fine with that. I understand what you're trying to do. But that's it. This is a team that thinks that they're a quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl. That's what they truly believe, is that they're a quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl. And what do? They trade their best corner in, what is his name? Stephon Gilmore. You don't trade DeForest Buckner, even though there's definitely teams calling about him. You don't trade Grover Stewart because there's definitely teams calling about him. You don't trade Shaq Leonard because there's definitely teams calling about him. But then you move on from your number one corner. You don't sign anybody. You don't have a left tackle still. You're letting all these teams around you sign left tackles. And I like Bernard Raymond. I do. I like Bernard Raymond as much as the next guy. But like when Orlando Brown, when Juwan Taylor, when these guys are available, get them. Get them, man. Like, get yourself a starting level left tackle. And again, maybe Bernard Raymond can develop into that. He was solid. He was a solid rookie last year. A rookie that was solid last year. If he can develop, I'm all for it. I was someone who was saying that the Colts need to draft Bernard Raymond. Go back to my 2022 mock drafts. I had Bernard Raymond go to the Colts every single time in the first round. And he went to them in the third round. So I was very high on Bernard Raymond. But like right tackle, Braden Smith is going to start aging. Center and right guard. Or you don't have a right guard. Or a center, actually, right? They don't think they have a center right now either. But I know they don't have a left guard. Our lads, Indy. I know they don't have a right guard. They have Will Fries starting. You have literally a bag of fries starting at right guard. Get yourself a better right guard. Get yourself some depth. You have no depth in this offensive line. One guy gets injured, you don't got an offensive line for your rookie quarterback. So I don't like what the Colts did. I mean, they haven't traded anyone significant besides Stephon Gilmore, so they're not going in a rebuild, but they trade Stephon Gilmore, so they're not trying to compete. What are you trying to do? You're in a division where the Titans are rebuilding. The Jaguars are good, but not great yet. And the Texans are the Texans. Get yourself a really good team. You have all this cap space. Spend the money. Build around. Get another wide receiver. Get yourself a McCole Hardman. Get yourself a Juju. Get yourself a Jacoby Myers. Get yourself get yourself a Brandon Cooks. Get yourself one of these trade targets, an Elijah Moore. And you draft a rookie quarterback at number 4, and you see what happens. But they're not committing, just like the Saints. They're not committed to winning. They're committed to being mediocre. So I'm gonna give them a C minus, just like the Saints. I went on a little bit of a rant there, but it's because I want the Colts to be good. I like the Colts being good. I want them to be good again. And it's like they're committed to not just pushing all the chips forward. And they're fine being mediocre to bad. So C minus for them. And finally, the team that I think had the worst offseason so far is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Absolutely has to be the Steelers. You lose all of your corners, right? You lose all of your corners. And what do? They sign Patrick Peterson, the 45-year-old corner from Minnesota. Now, he had a pretty solid year. I mean, I don't know if these are actually his stats. I need to look this up real quick. Patrick Peterson. I need to make sure these are his stats. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's his stats. Wow. So he actually had a really underrated year. 66 tackles, 5 interceptions, 15 passes defended. 2 years, 14 mil. It's definitely, it's front loaded. 1 year, 5.85 mil guaranteed. I get it, right? I understand that they need a corner. But you literally went out and got the most aged cornerback veteran you can get. He's like 39. How old is he? Wow, he's only 32. That man plays like he is 39 years old. If you guys watch Patrick Peterson play, he is stiff. He is stiff. You lose Cam Sutton, who I thought had a really good year for you. Only 27. Could have gotten him like a 4-year deal. I mean, you just, again, a team committed to not trying to win a championship. If you are an NFL franchise, everything you do should be trying to win a championship. I don't care what era you're in, whether it's Tom Brady is running the league, Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Patrick Mahomes now. I don't care. If you're an NFL franchise, you got to try to win. That's why we're all here, is to try and win a Super Bowl. So when Patrick Peterson, on day one of the NFL free agency tampering, gets a contract, you're not committed to winning. I'm sorry. I stand by that. You should be trying to get these big name guys. Try and get a lot of really good guys. You reached in the depths of hell for 2014 Patrick Peterson, for 2016 Patrick Peterson. Again, he had a really good year, but he's 32. Okay, he's 32. You don't run the same system as the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings ran a man-heavy system, and the Steelers run a very blitz-heavy. So you got to be quick. You got to be quick. You got to be quick at decision-making. You got to be quick, trying to stop these slants and all these go routes. Because when you're constantly blitzing your linebackers, constantly blitzing your defensive ends, these guys have to throw the ball quickly. So you got to have really fast reflexes. And I'm sorry, but a 32-year-old has slower reflexes than a 27-year-old. A 27-year-old who last season had a really good year for you. I don't know. I just don't see that. I don't see Patrick Peterson. And he signed Cole Holcomb, who was fine. I mean, he did have almost 70 sacks in 7 games. That's really impressive. But a 3-year deal is a little rich for me. I mean, a 1-year flyer is what I would have done. And if you didn't get him for that, he's not worth $7 million. Is a reason that the Commanders, who are linebacker needy, let him walk. Is a reason. I have to give the Steelers a D. Sorry. I wish I could give it something higher. I mean, again, I gave the Ravens, I haven't done anything either. I gotta give them a D. At least the Bengals are trying. The Bengals definitely got a B+. But the Ravens have done nothing. The Steelers, not the Steelers, the Bengals have signed Orlando Jones. They signed, let me get to the list. They signed Orlando Jones. Wow, Orlando Brown. Orlando Jones. They signed Orlando Brown. Where is it? Jermaine Pratt, they signed back. And they got Nick Scott. That's a really good offseason. The Steelers have done nothing. The Ravens have done nothing. You got to try. I got to give him a D. Yeah, that's my initial free agency. Now, after the draft, obviously this could all change. Because let's say, the Steelers have an A+ draft and they win a Super Bowl next year. The Ravens have another A+ draft because they constantly have great drafts after great drafts after great drafts, and they win a Super Bowl. This is all meaningless. These are all names on a piece of paper. They're not actually players on a field yet. I don't know how all these players are going to actually play in the field. For all I know, the Bears are yet again 1-15, 1-16, and all the players they signed are terrible. And maybe Patrick Peterson has 10 interceptions next year, and they win a Super Bowl. Who knows? That's the whole point of the NFL. But if you guys did enjoy this very long, very heated video, hopefully you guys liked it. I'm trying to have more long-form content. So if you guys did enjoy it, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified when I post next. And thank you for all the love of my last video. And we're nearing 2,000 views. 2K. We're nearing 2,000 views. So all opinions on this channel are mine and mine alone. Let me hear it. I can take it. Because guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to respond to every comment with my reasoning. So I'll see you guys later. Peace and bye.